Hello and welcome back to Enterprise Architecture. Thank you all for joining us again. So last episode we attempted to get our coal generators up and online and had a few struggles getting there. But today folks, since then I've gone through and I have gone from 6 coal generators to now 16 coal generators, which is a big improvement for us. So if we look over here at our power production, 1,200 megawatts. That is a whole lot of power. That should be far in excess of anything we're going to be doing for the very near future back at our base. Now, that means I've set up all 4 of the miners here for the coal nodes that were nearby. I think there's another one still over that direction that we could go and set up, but we're not going to do that right now because we have more than enough energy and we're good to go. That being said, there's a bunch of resources along the way here that we should probably come back and get to eventually, but we're not doing that today. Oh no. Today is the day we have long been waiting for. It is time to go back to our main base and start setting up some actual automation, our first mini factory, if you will. And from there, we're going to start building out the rest of our base. Now, we don't have all of the unlocks necessary to make this be really elegant, so we're going to rough it out today and then start getting some of the extra resources pumped into the MAM, pumped into the resource sink so that we can start buying and unlocking all of the extra features that we might want to use, wall outlets and whatnot. So without much further ado to that, let's head back to the base and get started. All right, so we're back at our base, and I think what we want to do is start building out over the desert. Now, we talked about this before in a previous episode, but this desert just to the south here is probably where we're going to have the most room to grow and expand over time. I think what we're going to do is prop it up just above all of these lovely blue trees. It will block out our view of the trees, but it's going to give us plenty of room to grow and also bring in additional resources that are spread out across this desert. So I think we will get started building here. Now, first thing we're going to do is use one of our mods that we've installed here, the Unified Grid. Now, the Unified Grid gives you this item called the Primary Foundation, and this will then align, in theory, all of your future base building to this central element. So everything else is going to be attached to this, and it's set on the cardinal points. As you'll see, it tries to align itself to north, south, east, west. It's not letting me rotate it here. So we're going to set that right over here to start as our starting point to build everything else off of. All right, so there we have it. And it costs about the same as a normal foundation, but you can see it's different colored than a normal foundation. So then off of that, we're going to want to build out. Now, I do note using Smart Mod here that building out, and I'm just going to chunk this down, does mean that some of these are going to go, if we don't build up more, will be clipped into the trees, and we don't want that. We want to be able to continue to grow vertically, even though, and horizontally, and any direction we want, basically. So for here, we probably want to go up a level or two before we start building out. So let's see how many of those we need to do. I'll go ahead and stack that there. We'll do one more, and I think that'll be enough. Build ourselves a little ramp up to it. And again, we don't have Blade Runner, so we can't just jump up on top of a foundation like normal. And then off of that, let's see here. We'll go that way, and we'll go this way. Again, just trying to block this out. It looks like still we're going to hit the tops of some of those trees over there, doesn't it? Well, I guess we need to go maybe up a little bit more. Or maybe we could just avoid those trees for now. Let's see how we're looking on the other side. Let's see here. That seems to go over all of those trees, so that's okay. So yeah, just as we start to get a little bit further down the map, we might run into some there. So I think that's what we'll do, is we'll just start in this area. Now, I think for the bottom layer of a factory, doing these thick foundations can look nice. And then as we unlock the pillars, we can get some supports under there, so it's not just a weird, awkwardly floating structure. But I think that's what we'll do, is we'll just chunk this out here for now. Let's see. Probably don't need to go that far with it. So let's just do... we want to do odd numbers here to make lining up a little easier. So let's do 9 by 9 for now. There we go. So in between play sessions, I did go ahead and set up a few more of these assemblers to make concrete. We're getting 120 off of the miner here. Of course, we do need to upgrade these to Mark II to be able to get as much efficiency as we can. So it's pulling a full 120 on a belt, not just 60. And then into the actual assemblers, we're doing... constructors, we're doing 45 each. So 120, you get 45 in here and 45 in here for 90. And this one actually is only using the remaining 30, not 45. But that'll get us a decent number of additional concrete production over here, which, again, for base building, we're going to need a lot of. The other thing we're going to need is iron plates, but we have a lot of those already, so I'm not so worried about stocking up on them. And then cables, of course, to run throughout the base. So, back to base building. Okay, so here we are. We have our big, cleared off platform ready to start building. So I think what we want to do here is start with iron production. Now, we have the 2 nodes we've already tapped over here, and those are both pure iron nodes. We have another 2 next to this rock face. Now, that means each pure node is giving us 120 ore per minute in a standard miner, Mark 1. And then the smelters can do 30 per minute. Now, but we can only get 120 items on a Mark II belt right now. So what we really need to be able to do is maximize our space based on our throughput limits we have today. So I think what we're going to do is start building out a couple of rows of smelters just to get us our iron into ingots on this base level here. Now, a lot of people I know like to do all of their smelting locally, but given the cramped situation we're in, I'm okay with doing it here and then building up our tiers of factory as we go. So I think the first thing we're going to do is lay down a row of smelters here. Now, I think we should have plenty of ingredients to make as many as we need here, but to start, I think we'll just do a row of 8 here, because then we'll get 2 sets of belts coming in off this side. Actually, we might be able to do the full 16 while we're at it. Do we have enough items? Yes, we do. Should we go ahead and do that then? In 1 row? No. I think we'll do it in 2 rows. I think 2 rows makes the most sense for the floor area we've got here. So we're going to put the first set right here aligned to this edge. And that's going to give us a line of belts down the middle here that will then hook those up. And then we'll do a second set of belts on the other side. So let's deal with the inputs first. We go here, and if I remember correctly, SmartMod should be able to build a lot of this out for us based on our splitters if we line it up properly. So let's go, let's see. Everything's coming from that side, so it's probably easier to come up this row rather than down this row. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll turn this around. Now, of course, SmartMod might be buggy at this stage too. So let's hold that there. So in theory, if we start building these out, it should automatically line them up for us, and I think it should also connect them for us. There we go. So we've got 8 there. And the trick here is that we can't do all 8 at once. So, because again, the throughput is 120, not 240. But we'll put all 8 in. And between the first set of 4 and the second set of 4, we're just going to pull out a belt. And we'll see if this, I think this is going to be too tight to be able to drop down from here. We might have to do, we can try it, a conveyor belt between the two of them, but conveyor belts are a little too high also, right? They float a little bit higher than I would like. So we might have to clip through a little bit on this one, which is less than ideal, but, it'll still get the job done. So let's go ahead and put in a stackable conveyor pole right about in here. And then we bring our second belt down and through that one. Again, it's ugly, but it'll work for us. And then we put our entry point here. And then we just run this over top. So again, what we're doing is we're running 120 belt over top of the other existing 120 belt, since we don't have the Mark 3 and 4 yet. Okay, so in theory that means the first set will go into this first set of 4, and then the remaining set will go into the next set of 4. Okay, now all that remains to do is convince them of what we want to do. Oh, look at that. You can paste without opening them up now. That's awfully nice. So copying the iron ingot recipe and then just pasting those in, just like that. Now we're going to hook up our outputs here. Again, this time we're going to use splitters. And again, I think we're still going to want to work back the way we came. So we kind of came in on that side, and we're also going to go out on that side. So we kind of have a loop. And again, we're going to try and connect this, get this to line up just right, like that. And then again, we're going to do the same thing here using Smart Mod to go ahead and build out all 8 of these. If it, nope, it doesn't look like it wants to do that. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't with Smart Mod. You never know if it's going to know what you're trying to achieve or not. No, doesn't seem to recognize that I have more belts there. Well, that's not a big deal. No, we can live without that. And if you happen to know why that is, why SmartMod only some of the time wants us to connect up and other times it doesn't, please leave me a comment so that I know. So, in the meantime, we'll just go ahead and do this manually. We'll just draw out a belt here. And then we'll go ahead and put our, sorry, not splitters, we want mergers on this side. Mergers in manually. Okay, so we finished out that row and have all of our exit belts set up here now. And now the last thing that we need to do here is wire everything up for power. Now again, we don't have wall outlets right now, and that's somewhat frustrating. So we're just gonna run the power manually down. And I don't care about clipping at this point so much, so we'll just let that do its thing, and we'll just have a whole bunch of really ugly poles all caught in the middle of everything. And again, at some point later in the future, when we do get the wall outlets, we'll replace all of this with something a little bit more tidy and neat. A little bit better looking, but this will do for now. Okay, that gives us our wiring. Now, I like to have a single point where power is coming in and out of my little mini manufacturing setup. So, again, normally I'd use a double-sided outlet here, but just for argument's sake, instead we're just going to put a pair of power lines here that are connected, and that'll give us a really easy way to disconnect these as we need. So yeah, there we have it. All of these smelters are now hooked up and wired up, and we have our first row so far of 8, which again will give us 2 of our lines. So what we're going to do, so as to not halt all of our iron production that's currently ongoing, we're going to go ahead and hook this up to iron nodes over here that we haven't actually used yet. So let's go do that. Okay, so here we are. We went ahead and made previously a couple of portable miners, so all we need to do is slap down our automated miners over here. We also had already cleared these nodes, so we should be ready to go. The only other thing that these need is power, of course, so we wire them up. We're also going to drop this off of our incoming line that we're currently powering with our coal plant over there. And then all that remains is to run our belts out. Now, I am a little worried that we're going to run out of these belts because so far our iron production is very low, and we simply do not have a whole lot at this point of the reinforced plates yet. So that's going to be somewhat frustrating and problematic for us for at least the near future. So we're using Mark II belts here again, trying to get all 120 on here, and then we'll bring this up above. I like to do the sort of stacking routes when we've got multiple belts to bring over. It makes it a little bit more difficult to bring lines along because you can't just put them side by side. You actually have to stop and build out your lines. But I find in the end it's a lot more manageable for keeping track of everything and keeping it in a nice, tightly contained space. One thing I need to be doing here, which I'm not, is I do also like to not make belts quite to their full length. I like to usually make them a little shorter. And the reason for that is sometimes you need a little more wiggle room when you're dealing with multiple tiers of belts. Further back, further up, whatever you happen to be doing. And I just like to be able to account for that as I'm going. Now, I think maybe we bring this belt up here, and we bring it in the side of the facility. I think that's the going to be the easiest way for us to deal with this. So we'll do that. We'll put the conveyor pole on top. So yeah, you never know if a conveyor pole needs to slide up by 1 tick or over by 1 tick. And when you do that, if you make the belts exactly the right length, to their maximum extent, it doesn't give you any room to play with moving things around. You really end up getting stuck. Okay, there we go. Mark II, all Mark II belts as far as the eye can see. And I hear some noises down there, coming from somewhere. Well, I'm sure it'll be fine. Everything is fine. Okay, and then, so one other thing here is we're going to want to go vertical with these belts. So I don't think I actually want them quite where I have them right now. I actually want to bring this one out just one more tick. There we go. And the reason for that is that way we can have a little bit cleaner separation when we use our conveyor lifts up and down up to the next level. So let's hike back over to the edge of our mini base we're building here and see how it looks. Okay, so we just need to get our elevation right here. Since the back one is going to pop up behind it, that's going to be the top. And the bottom one here is going to be the bottom, and it's going to maintain the bottom. So all we need to do now is drop in our conveyor lifts. So we want that basically to be spot on with us. And as you can see, they've added this little feature where it gives you a camera view of where it's coming in, which is super helpful. So I think that is the right height for that one. It might need to go up a little bit. We might be in between two heights here just from where we're starting. And then we just need to attach this to the top belt, and that just needs to be peeking out right over the top there. And again, they're not going to line up perfectly at this level. And then we just need to make sure we're lining up where we're bringing it in. So that's right down the middle, right down the middle. And then we put our stackable belt on top, or stackable poles on top. Again, at some point we're going to get wall holes, and that's going to make this a lot cleaner and more elegant. We might bring them in side by side or one level above the other, whatever we end up doing there. But for right now, this is going to do the trick just fine. Okay, and now the other piece is, what do we do with our output? Well, we're going to need some temporary storage here. I like to build an actual storage facility adjacent to my factory and then route things in and out from that storage facility. So we might go ahead and rough one out just temporarily right now, just to get us started. So I think this is probably a good place to put it. 1, 2 over. Yeah, let's do that. So we're just going to go over about 3 squares. 3 foundations, I should say. And then I'm going to make this about 5 foundations long there. And we'll come and we'll go ahead and make it 5 by 5. 5 by 5. There we go. That'll give us a little extra room to play with, and it doesn't clip too badly against our ore here. So I'm going to go over to the left side of this, and I'm just, for right now, going to drop a couple of storage containers. Now, once we get industrial storage containers, this will go a lot smoother. But I'm just going to put a couple together here to start compiling all that iron coming in. So I'm going to put them side by side. And one thing I do when I don't have the industrial storage containers here is I like to stack these, if it'll let me. Okay, I don't know why that was so glitchy. But again, I like to, when we don't have the industrial storage yet, face the 2 bottom storage containers out, and then the top 2 storage containers in for this double up that we're doing here. And I always like this reverse stacking, because that way you can do this little trick with the conveyors on the outside, which will then basically dump everything out of the bottom one into the top one, and then you can flow it back out from the same side. So it gives you an input and an output on the same side in basically the same space as you would have an industrial storage container. So that's super helpful. But again, you still have the maximum input only of 1 input, which is, again, limited by your belts. So all we're going to do is bring our belts over here. I'm going to put this offset to the side a little bit, just to give us a little bit more room, and bring this one down next to it. Again, it's going to be a little awkwardly clipping because we don't have wall holes yet. And just bring this over here. And then we'll just bring that over 2 ticks. 1, 2. And that'll give us a nice, clean, straight curve there. And just repeat that on the second belt. Okay, so there we have it. All of that's now hooked up. Now let's just go check in on our production. All right, the one thing that we were missing over here, of course, is the main power bringing that in. But it's good because we wanted to wait until everything was all connected up anyway as to where the destination of that stuff should be anyway. So we'll just walk our power line over. Maybe we'll do it on this side, and that way we can connect it off of this main that's been coming in. Put that there, and drop that there, and there we go. We should see our consumption, spike a little bit there as we go from where we were to adding 8 more smelters. So those should all be online. Oh, Hello, friend. Don't know what you're doing all the way up here. Okay, so there we go. Smelting away 30 per minute. Looking good. And then the output should also be 4 times 30 per minute, 120 for the total belt. And that goes right along our causeway and into our storage. Perfect. That's what we like to see. Okay, so now what we have to do is repeat the same process later for the next set of iron. But we're not going to do that right now. No. What we're going to do instead is start duplicating our production of our iron items up to the next level of this factory. So again, I'm putting all of my storage of intermediate components over here. That'll give us a nice little shopping mall later as we go. But what we're going to want to do is start building up. And so now, for the first time in this series, as you can see with the new icon still on there, we're going to build walls. I know, mind-boggling. This late in the game, finally using walls. I'm not worried about them clipping over things for right now. We're just going to go ahead and use Smart Mod to lay out where that wall is going to go. And you know what? We just need to be taller than the smelter, but I want to give myself a little bit of room to play with as well. Not too much room, but a little bit. So for right now, most of the things that we're going to be building, it's going to fit within a 3-wall height or 3 foundation height when you're dealing with 8s pretty nicely and easily, and give us plenty of room to play with. So let's just start with that. Now again, later on, we'll want to use fancier walls, maybe use some of the glass walls, other things here than just the plain default orange. We haven't even unlocked multiple colors yet, y'all. And I probably will not keep orange once we do, but for right now, let's just go and put in a load of walls. And I'm going to knock out just the couple that are going to be in the way here. And note that I'm only closing this in right now on 2 sides. The sides I know are most likely to stay fixed. If we continue to expand our factory, the most likely places to expand are going to be out this way and southward. So the west, we've got plenty of room here until we get to the edge of the map, and then south we have most of this desert. So for right now, we're going to play with this and keep those 2 walls in place. We'll eventually close all of this in, but for right now, I'm just trying to get a feel for how much space I'm going to need for all of the things I'm trying to build. So from here, we need to be able to get up to the next level, and guess what? We haven't unlocked any architecture yet. So we have literally no stairs to get up. So what do? Well, for right now, we build ramps. Ramps are the way we're going to get this done. Now we need to do is drop foundations in. Now this time, I'm not going to use the thick foundations, because these are just floors between the different levels. What we're going to do instead is use the 1 by 1, or the 1 meter thick foundations instead, and we'll just run this all the way out to the full factory floor. One thing I will mention too is I try to use all of the floor space for the factory, and I tend to put the connections, the ramps, the elevators, stairwells, all of that on the outside. I think it gives it a nice little sort of more brutalist look from a design perspective, but it also makes it a lot easier to keep track of everything internally, what you're trying to achieve. So for that, from where we are now, we need to bring back in that iron that's being produced there into our factory and start building things in our constructors. Now, I think the first thing we're going to want to do is lay out constructors for our iron plates. So, for our iron plate production, a single constructor is going to be able to take in 30 ingots and produce 20 iron plates. Now, I'd like to dedicate for right now an entire single dedicated line of ingots to that. So that means 4 of our constructors to start. But I do expect I'll double that as soon as we can finish the rest of the vertical base building we're doing here and tear down our original setup and reuse those other ingots that will be coming from that side of the map. So what we really want to do here is just lay down 4 for now and set those up. And there we have it. Iron plates are now rolling into our newly added storage area. So that gives us iron plates. The next thing we're going to do is set up our iron rods real quick. And then the last thing we'll do is set up screws. So let's go ahead and do that real fast. Now we're going to use the same exact pattern as we used before to build this out. With the same general idea of structure that we want for this. Again, it's still a 9x9 square. We're still going to go up 3 wall heights, and again, that's because we're just using these basic constructors right now. And of course, iron rods you can produce at about twice the rate of iron plates. Because you're only doing 15 per constructor. So that means this time we're going to want 8 constructors instead of 4. And there we have it. All of our screws, rods, and plates are now being produced in our little mini factory. Spat out this side and coming into our storage containers, which we've assembled on this side, the storage platform. So that's most of the items that we want to accomplish for this episode. Now, next episode, we'll be looking towards adding another series of layers on top of this factory for our rotor and reinforced plate production. And then I think we'll also go ahead and set up a copper production plant. Maybe we go out this way for it, and maybe we do limestone as well, because I see some limestone sitting over there to turn it into concrete. But I think that's all going to have to wait for the next episode. And just now we got our first in-game rain effect. I'd never seen this before. It's actually pretty nice. It doesn't get as dark as I would have expected, like you get with Minecraft, for instance, when it starts to rain. This is pretty nice. Nice little drizzly effect they added here, and the audio effects I think you can probably hear are really nice. Really sounds like rain. Now you can also see our factory in the background here again. Pretty ugly mini factory at this point, with only a big concrete ramp and only 2 sides on it. But we'll go ahead and finish closing that in probably here in the next bit, maybe before the next episode. I'll go ahead and close that on this side here, but I'll probably leave the back empty for expansion for now. We'll keep that open. However, I didn't want to end the episode just yet. There's one more thing I still want to do. I don't like leaving it at just the end of a build here, if possible. What I'd like to do is actually be able to unlock something at the end of each episode if we can here. Oh, look at all that. Is that rain effects on that? Is that where that shine is coming from, or is it always that shiny? Looks extra shiny. Shiny. So what I think we're going to unlock here, I've been thinking about it a little bit. I think field research would be good because it gives us personal storage boxes, the map, and the MAM. But I think what's more important right now is the resource sink. We really need to get resource sync from the awesome sync online and the awesome shop so that we can start getting some of those fancier things that we need to build a good factory. So let's go ahead and get this unlocked while we're here. I believe I have all of the items we need. Indeed. And launch.
Milestone reached. You have been given early access to the Anti-Waste Effort for Stress Testing of Materials on Exoplanets bonus program. Funneling parts into the Awesome Resource Sink, depending on their amount and complexity, will grant you coupons in the Awesome Store, which can be exchanged for bonus rewards. Examples of bonus content are parts, walls, factory attachments, and cosmetics. Fixit is working hard to develop additional options, which will be added to the Awesome Store in the future. Go that extra kilometer. Go awesome.
Well, there you heard it. Go the extra kilometer. Go awesome. Let's go ahead and set up our awesome shop over here for our maximized shopping experience. Of course, the awesome shop itself, as I recall, doesn't need power, but the awesome sink does. Welcome back. And look at all these great things we will hopefully be able to buy in the near future. But for now, I think this is a great place to end the episode. We've unlocked something. We got a nice little factory, mini factory built up. And things are really starting to come together for our automation here. So next episode, we'll start building out more of that. We'll start getting those tier 2 automations built up on top of this existing factory. And things will really start coming together. So thank you again for joining us for this episode of Enterprise Architecture, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye.